Welcome to the 14th episode of Cartridge Chronicles, the podcast where we dust off the cartridges, blow on them, whether that helped or not, and dive deep into the games that shaped us. I'm Questmaster Prime, joined as always by Marz Attakz, and today we're stepping under the bright lights of the boxing ring. We're talking about strict pattern recognition, lightning-fast reflexes, and taking down colorful, larger-than-life opponents on a quest for the heavyweight championship belt. Today we're covering Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!, or if you want to call it Punch-Out! Without Mike Tyson, we're also covering that as well, for the Nintendo Entertainment System, which was released in 1987, served as one of the most iconic, perfectly designed rhythm-action puzzle games disguised as a sports title. This is a game that took Nintendo's dual-screen arcade hit and brilliantly re-imaged it for home consoles using a clever wireframe-free perspective. It's a game that features an unforgettable underdog, a tracksuit-clad mentor, and a roster of eccentric boxing champions, culminating in one of the most notoriously punishing final boss fights in video game history. It was Nintendo's masterclass in subverting hardware limits to create a timeless test of patience, timing, and reflexes. Lace up your gloves, dodge left, and keep your eye on the blink. This is Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! All right, I am here with my colleague and friend Marz Attakz, and tonight we're going to talk about the game Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! For the NES. It was originally conceived in the arcades by Genyo Takeda and his team at Nintendo, and it was an arcade cabinet that relied on dual monitors to showcase a semi-transparent wireframe protagonist. So they had to port that to the NES. They couldn't do the wireframe because it's NES. So they changed it to a character called Little Mac, and that character was actually designed by Makoto Wada, and it was his idea to shrink the player character to Little Mac and make, for since it's Nintendo, it made sense to make a small character against bigger characters. So I want to know your first thoughts on this game. This game is probably one of my favorites, probably in my top 10. But I wanted to know your views on the game.
So, I mean, we don't want to rush past. So,
Yeah.
remember the arcade machine. This was like you had like these kind of weird. They're not really gloves, but you would hold like the sticks, or not sticks, but there was some kind of like fashioned hand things that you would hold, so you would like be able to throw the punches.
Oh yes.
Um, and also, I remember seeing it in arcade, and then coming home. I never had this game until like way later, but I think wasn't this like one of the first, like the one of the like opening titles that came out with Nintendo? Like you had Metroid, Super Mario. I think you had Mike Tyson Punch Out. Some of like the first games for Nintendo when it came out. So
Yeah. No, you're right. It came out in 1987,
yeah,
so 2 years
so
after Nintendo came out.
yeah, I so this game. I think we also need to talk about Mike Tyson, right?
Of course, yes.
So I, of course, knew who Mike Tyson was before the game. So for those who don't know, Mike Tyson is a big name in boxing. Um, he was basically a phenomenon in boxing because he would knock out his opponents really quickly, like to the point like if um all this betting apps that you have today, like people even back then were betting on how long the fights would last.
Yeah.
That's how fast he was knocking people out. He was a monster, and he was good at his craft. And one of the things also I think we should talk about is like this game requires strategy. Well, boxing requires strategy, and he was
Yes.
good at strategy, right?
Yeah.
Um, so it was just kind of just out of, again, another person of celebrity having a video game. It wasn't a thing. And then for Mike Tyson to get a game, then there's Jordan versus Bird. So you start to see all these video games of these celebrities come out, and this was one of the ones that was really popular
Yeah.
because at the time Mike Tyson was really popular. He is, again, a phenomenon in the boxing world. And I just remember, I think the first fight I ever saw him in, I felt like it only lasted 2 minutes because as soon as he came out the corner, he was on the guy. And it was wild. It was a wild time in boxing. And then the rise of him, he was everywhere. He was doing talk shows, he was doing cameos, he had commercials, he was everywhere. And it was weird to have like a boxing person be, outside of, you know, I, I don't know, like, um, I don't know how to describe it. It was interesting to see the rise of this person. Money, cars,
Yeah. Yeah.
even his manager was well known. His manager was Don King. Well, not his first manager. His second manager was Don
Yeah.
King.
Second one. Yep.
He became like this caricature uh in the boxing world. And like like Don King, even his background, if you like look up him, he had a weird background. So it was just kind of this weird, almost this the greatest show on earth kind of thing going on with between Mike Tyson and Don King. And it was I almost felt bad in a sense too, because it was like, and if you historically, circuses used to have like freak shows, and this was sort of like a freak show because in a weird sense was like a freak show because Mike Tyson was doing things in the ring that were not normal,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's why he was so popular. And Don King, and on the side of him was kind of like the sideshow, like, host of this person doing all this freakish things. So to get back to your question, I don't think this would be my top 10 game. I like this game. It's very like like most games on Nintendo, it becomes a strategy game.
Yes.
I think that's the one thing I really liked about it was, oh, there is a strategy. There is a way to beat this game.
Well, it's also like pattern too. Like you had to
Yeah,
look for patterns. Once you know the patterns, you can
yeah,
probably beat the game as many times as you want. Once you
yeah.
remember the patterns and the muscle memory.
So I think that is, but that's also, I would say, a kind of revolutionary in games,
Yeah.
in the sense like this was like one of the first sports games that everyone played, like like people who weren't even into boxing played this game because Mike Tyson's name was attached to it,
Yeah.
you know. Um and it was kind of interesting to see the translation from arcade to home, but they did it and it worked, you know.
And I have a question too. You might know
Yeah.
this. Now, if the arcade was, and I'm trying to remember. I don't think Mike Tyson's name was on it until the Nintendo, right? It
Yeah,
wasn't in the arcades.
it was just Punch Out in the arcade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and then Mike Tyson signed his name to, or they got, they asked Mike Tyson to sign his name to it when it came home, and it was, like even the commercials, it was Mike Tyson in a commercial for the game.
Yeah, he was. I remember that
So,
commercial. Yeah.
so it was a big thing. It was a big thing for Nintendo. It was a big thing for the boxing world. It was a big thing for culture at that time. Uh, Again, surrounding Mike Tyson, and we'll probably talk again later too. Like at some point, they take his name off this game, and there's a reason why.
And I also want to mention too, this game is very heavily inspired by the Rocky movies as well.
Oh,
So
yeah,
very heavily inspired by Rocky. So I wanted to at least add that
yeah.
because
You
that's a
definitely
big one.
yeah, you can't
Yeah.
escape. I mean, even there's a point in the game where there's a break for you fighting in between rounds. So that's the other thing too, is
Yes.
like there's different rounds and you're going for your belts. And there are different breaks in between your different fightings, and there's one break where you're like running and your trainer is bicycling you, and the trainer is, I don't want to say stereotypical, guy training you, but that's what it is. The funny thing also is like the trainer is giving you tips in between rounds, which
More like useless tips though,
yeah,
because he doesn't really help you at all. He just
I'm like, no, you're on
yeah.
your own, little Mac. You are so on your own in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually a there's a joke about how he like gets these fights for him. Like
Yeah,
um and I think you wanna showed it to me where it's on like YouTube and he's like, you got me around now you got me in a fight with Mike Tyson,
yeah.
the best fighter in the world.
Hey, you want to get your name out there, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's also kind of like again this parody of the boxing world, and I would even say it's kind of mirroring what is going on at the time with Mike Tyson. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
he's fighting all these different people. Mike Tyson is the Rocky. Say more. Let's go Rocky 3. Remember, did you
Yes.
ever see Rocky 3?
Yes, I
Where
did.
basically he's fighting everybody and it becomes like this showboat.
Yeah.
And that's the trajectory you start to see with Mike Tyson is with his fights. Like he is mowing down everybody. And then there's this weird thing that always happens with people, right? I think the Dark Knight movie sums it up so well. It's like, you know, you live long enough, on a long enough timeline, you live long enough to either die a hero or become the villain.
Oh, yeah, live long enough to become the villain, yeah.
Yeah, you either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain. That's the line.
Yes.
And I feel like that's really what happened in Mike Tyson's life,
Yeah,
with
I agree with
with
that.
with this. And that's why I was said we'll talk about it. Like his name gets taken off this game after a while.
Yeah.
But as far as the game itself, I liked it. The patterns, the pattern recognition, you know,
Yeah.
and even the weird characters, right? Uh,
The stereotypical characters. I used to
yeah,
call it stereotypes.
and you're fighting people from all different parts of the world.
Yeah.
So there's a guy from Spain. The first guy you fight, Glass Joe,
Last show.
he's your easiest opponent,
Yeah.
and it's really trying to get your feet wet into what is this game about. And you know, you start to see like, okay, these are how people's moves, and then as you progress, the fighters get harder. Or they have it's harder to break or figure out their patterns
Yes.
um, as you progress on. And while you're doing this, you're also gaining you're going for the title, right?
Yeah.
You want to be the world champ, and the end the goal of that is fighting Mike Tyson. I'm trying to think. Like I saw a video maybe a few years ago where a person had like a code where you'd go like straight to Mike Tyson,
Oh,
and I was
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that would be terrifying, like to play as the first, like, here you go, like play, fight the last guy, you know.
Yeah,
As
and I
hard as
had that. Oh, go ahead.
yeah,
I was gonna say, I had that. I had that code. Like,
yeah,
a friend of mine gave me the code. I was like, "Really? I can go right to the end,"
yeah,
and I regretted it. when I put
Yeah,
it into it
it's
because
like
your butt whoops. Yeah.
it's like, why did you do this to me? There's
Yeah,
really no reason except for me to like be destroyed.
exactly.
How far? Like, here's my. How far did you get? Like, if you're playing on your own, how far did you get? Like every time, or was it you saw like a progression? So how far did you get on your first run?
That's a good question. Well, the first run I got, it was like a lot of trial and error. I did eventually beat the game. I did beat the game uh,
Okay.
back then, right? Before this is before like uh, little cheats and stuff.
Was this
Uh,
on Nintendo?
this is on Nintendo. I had the game.
Okay.
I have a little history with that. Like I I got to play this game at my dad's house. So my
Mm,
mom didn't let me have it because of it had violence, right? Go figure. Um, but my dad let me borrow it and I played it in secret. Um, and I did eventually beat the game. Um, but it took a while. Like it took me a long, like when I got to like the first fighters like Last Joe
mhm.
and you got the German guy, then you have Piston Honda.
Yeah.
Uh, they're easy. Like I had no problems with them, but then it started getting hard when we got to when I started getting to the
King
Spanish
Hip.
guy.
Oh,
King Hippo had to look up
yeah.
because he was a little difficult. But then I realized you only hit him once and he's out, which is great. Um, but yeah, once I got to that part where you had like King Hippo, you had the Spanish guy, um, it started getting very challenging. It was a lot, and in Nintendo fashion, you had to start all over again.
Yeah.
You had passwords that helped, so I did I did rely heavily on passwords, so I didn't have to start all the way from the beginning. Um, but I still struggled. So like when you get to like Super Macho Man, so when I got to
Yeah.
him, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to beat this game ever. I'm never going to be. I was getting ready to quit, throwing the towel, but I stuck with it. And it's just one of those get good games. Like you can't look it up. Like you can't. You can get some tips, I guess, from Nintendo Power, but I didn't really get any tips from there. It was just more like muscle memory and knowing what hits they're gonna do.
Yeah.
And Super Macho Man, I, lo- I I got knocked out so much with him um, that I just was like, I can't beat this game. And then eventually, I just stuck with it. I stuck with it, and then I finally figured out his like macho spins that he used to do. I don't think that's
Mhm.
the name for it, but he used to do those. He used to do those like spins, those 360 spins, 360 punches, and that always used to get me because he used to fake me out. And then um, I finally got to Mike Tyson, and of
Mhm.
course, I got my butt handed to me the first time because I was like, and then I was like trying to like figure out what his punches were
Mhm.
and his blocks and all that, and like I got killed multiple times, and then yeah, and then like eventually I figured out his movements, but it took a while to figure out his movements, and then I barely beat him. I remember barely beating him. I had like it was like a sliver of health left. One more hit from him, uh, and one more hit from me would have decided it. And I
Oh,
was like sweating. I was my I wasn't like sweating, but my hands were sweating because I was on the Nintendo controller
yeah.
and my hands were like sweating. And I'm just like, I got this is it. This if he hits me one more time, it's over. And I got a eventually got a TKO on him, and then I beat him. But
Mm,
it's
yeah.
hard. It was hard. Um, and I'm gonna throw the same question back at you. Like,
Mhm.
what was your experience? Like, how far did you get back then, as opposed to now?
Back then, I probably got to um, what's the tiger guy?
Oh,
And
uh,
because he would do this thing where he would like go
yes.
like start to blink in and out, and then he would like move and like hit you like yeah 5 times,
Yeah.
and I was just like I can't figure out the the block pattern for that because you have to block the the times he's like fading in and out.
Yeah.
Um, Piston Honda, I think, was hard for me originally, um, especially when he like would hop back left, right, and then coming in and didn't do the multiple punches.
Yeah. Yeah. And the guy you're talking about with the Indian guy, he was Great Tiger. I think that's what
Great
you're talking
Tiger,
about.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I would get to him and I'd be like, I'm done. I can't. Um, but after you'd have like those. Every gamer has like that good run, right? Where
Yes.
whatever it is, it's that day. I don't know what it is. Maybe your snacks were right. You had the right energy drink. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
the Capri Sun was flowing through your veins,
Yes.
and you just go farther than you ever done. and
Yeah. It's one of those days.
yeah, the farthest I ever got was like you said. To me, it was Super Macho Man because
Yeah.
I always felt like because back in the day we'd also be like, they're cheating. The game is cheating.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I'm like, there's no way your punch is taking all of like half of my life bar. You know,
Yeah.
so it was like I've never gotten to Mike Tyson outside of using a code.
Yeah.
But yeah, super. I could get up to see when the Capri Suns are flowing, and my Lunchable is good. I could get to Super Macho Man, and then just be like, well, I don't know what else to do. But I have played, like I said, with the code and tried to beat Mike Tyson, and the first time I was like, there's no way, like no one's ever beaten this game. Like that's what I was
Yeah.
like. But
That to me was the same thing. Like when you get to Mike Tyson, when you get to Super Macho Man or Mike Tyson,
yeah,
it's just like there's no way anybody can beat this guy. I don't care how good a gamer you are.
yeah,
Like I knew one person that did it. And he's an older kid, and that was it. And I didn't even believe him when he said he did it because I didn't see it myself. So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah,
yeah. So but it was fun. Like I said, it's one of those you figure out the pattern, you figure out the strategy, which I'm gonna be honest, like I think that was one of the things with like Nintendo games when it was, like Mega Man and things like that.
yeah,
Even though it was like a simple game, simple graphics, there was still a strategy you had to imply to beat the game.
yeah,
And I actually, from the takeaway with this game, like I think it was great that they were able to do that was on such a simple platform back then. uh Still have you have to work to get to the end.
yeah, yeah. I did like that. It was really good with the gameplay. Uh, I think that was the biggest draw to it. I mean, yeah, I do agree with you that Mike Tyson was probably a big name, but I think a lot of it, like if the gameplay wasn't as great, I don't think
Mhm.
people would have bought it. So I think a lot of it was the gameplay and then the characters,
Yeah,
um, and it was just an addicting game. Like you wanted to beat it. It was so
yeah,
addicting as far as like fighting these fighters, and you wanted to win. You wanted to prove that you can get all the way to the end.
yeah. And just it being Mike Tyson's name attached to it, of
Yeah,
course, brought everyone to it. But you know I just like with all things, there's always like a dark thread that goes through, and um Mike Tyson's name ultimately gets taken off of Punch Out. Because I
yeah,
think late '90s, mid '90s, Mike Tyson gets arrested
yeah,
and goes to trial and goes to jail for
yeah,
some years.
yeah,
Um, and Nintendo, of course, didn't want to be associated with a criminal, so they took his name off and they changed the last character from Mike Tyson to Mr. Dream.
yeah,
So any production of Punch Out after that uh, doesn't have Mike Tyson's name on it, and the final character, it becomes generic in a sense. it just becomes Punch Out with a generic last guy named Mr. Dream.
Yeah.
And um
Yeah, because that is kind of the trajectory away from Mike Tyson. Because Mr. Dream, and then they go back to like kind of the arcade a little bit with the Super Nintendo version of Punch Out.
yeah.
Um, and then they bring it back to, and I'm kind of getting ahead, but they
Uh-huh.
bring it back. They bring it back to the Wii, but there's no Mike Tyson, right?
Right.
It's
It's just Punch Out.
just
And
Punch Out. Yeah,
but even like, with the Wii version of Punch Out, it was more of the, you got to move your arms kind of thing. Um,
yeah, yeah,
which I think was a good progression in the game.
yeah,
But it was, like with, every popular figure, there's something, some controversy, and this was, serious. What Mike Tyson did, or
yeah,
what was accused of, was serious, and what he went to jail for was serious. And now Mike Tyson would say that he never did what was said. Um, there's a lot of, even during that time, Mike Tyson is known as an aggressive person in dealing with other people. Mike Tyson would admit to you, if you've watched his podcast, he would admit at that time he was a very angry person,
yeah,
and how he channeled his anger was through boxing.
yeah,
You know, and actually, I commend him for having that outlet, right? And even recognizing that was, he was a very frustrated and sad young man, and a lot of people took advantage of him at that time. You know,
yeah. He was adopted. I think
yeah,
yeah, he had a yeah, he had yeah, he was adopted. He came from he had a really bad upbringing, which
yeah,
explains his anger.
yeah. And boxing was a tool to push him forward, and he had a good
Yeah,
mentor, in boxing, that was watching out for him. And of
yeah,
course, Don, when Don King comes in and slick talks and says he's going to do this and that, and like I said, it becomes more of this quote unquote freak show of this man who can just knock out people at will, and the world is just amazed at how fast this guy can do this.
yeah,
And then even towards the end of his career, you see it slowing down, where it takes him longer to punch people out. In fact, like I said, for a lot of times, the novelty of the freak wears off, and that's
yes,
that's in anything, right? The
yeah,
novelty of anything wears off, and people were like, I'm spending all these money on tickets, on flying out to these venues, and the fight only lasts like 2 minutes, 10 minutes, So then people start talking about getting their money worth, and again, Don King doesn't care because he's raking in so much money, and then even at some point, Mike Tyson's questioning, like, where's all this money going? Who's it going to? Because he's not seeing what he thinks he should be seeing. So it's kind of this, he has this whole life that's playing out in front of everyone, right?
yeah, yeah,
And nobody, it doesn't seem like there's anyone around to help him at this time, to guide him, to look out for him. you know um One of my favorite sayings, and I think he's quoting someone, and he's like, old too soon, smart too late, right?
yeah,
And I think that's a thing, you can take away, you know, from his life. It's just he realized, like, he didn't get smart until the end, and it might be something that a lot of us, think about, is like, as we're walking this life path, like, anything could happen.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and what are we doing? Who are the people around us that are looking out for us, making sure that we have the right people, making sure that we're looking out for ourselves, because a lot of times we turn a blind eye to the things that we need to be focusing on, thinking that someone else is going to handle it, or even thinking that, I have time to get to that.
yeah.
Um, and I feel, it's just one of the things that like gets me with the move to Mr. Dream, right? Is the taking away of a name, the name leaving. This game, I don't like you said, this game originally started out in the arcade, and they were, the move to the home system was when they put Mike Tyson's name on it. And that got them a lot of sales, right?
Yeah. It was smart. It was very smart that they added his name to it.
Yeah. And then when they took his name off of it, of course the sales dwindled, but
Yeah.
it almost signaled to the end of an era, right? The end
Yeah.
of this particular person's era, and but the thing that I actually like looking at his life now and watching, old Mike Tyson reflect on those things. Um, I think that, he has become, he's basically taken his name back.
Yeah.
So,
He makes fun of himself too. Like he
yeah,
does like that because that's the joke. Like right, people talk trash about Mike Tyson,
yeah,
but he's not around, right? But when
yeah,
he's around, they're like,
exactly.
like you wouldn't say that to his face, right?
Exactly. And that was the other thing too about Mike Tyson being a phenomenon was there was a lot of jokes because the way he talks,
Yeah,
uh, and
yeah,
just he has this really soft voice, even though he's like this powerhouse in the ring, right? And
yeah.
he has a speech impediment, you know, but people make fun of that. But like you said, they're not making fun of him to his face.
No, no.
And I think taking your name back is so important, and your name, it's all you have, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's
um
correct.
in the end, it's all you have. And even though his name was taken off of this, I still look at this game as Mike Tyson's Punch Out, because that's how it was presented.
Yeah.
And when I talk to people about the game, I say Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
And
uh
I think most people do because, like the Nintendo one, I don't think anything comes close to the Nintendo Mike Tyson's Punch, the original, right?
yeah,
Not even the arcade. Like playing in an arcade, it was fun, but it was I don't know. It's just maybe it's a nostalgia thing, um, but not even a nostalgia thing because the arcade came before Nintendo. But I don't know that like the arcade game. Like I don't have like memory. I mean, I remember playing it, but I don't remember. I don't remember having a lot of fun with it like I did with the NES. I don't know if it was because the NES was at home, and I was in the arcades. The arcade, of course, had better graphics, but it was just something about this game that's very endearing. Right? With the gameplay, uh, the simple controls that could have been it too, but just you playing as this little Mac character,
yeah,
um, and you're kind of like, you start from the beginning and then you get so far. It's very endearing, and it's very unforgettable to
yeah,
me. Yeah.
yeah. I think Nintendo's idea of you being little and being able to go like you're, what is it, David and Goliath, right?
Yes, people love that though.
Yeah,
They love the underdog stories.
yeah. And like you said, this is also heavily derivative of Rocky, right?
Yes,
Another underdog story.
yes, definitely.
So, but the ultimate thing of if you could if you could work hard enough to be like to get in the ring with Mike Tyson, would you do that? And that's what this story is, right?
Well, also want to mention too, like when he fights Mike, it's called a dream bout.
Yeah.
So it's not, you can argue that it didn't really happen. It didn't really, it didn't really happen. Like it's just in his mind because when you be Super Macho Man, you become like the heavyweight champion. But then you have this like dream bout. It's almost like a special bout
Yeah.
right? Like he's not a heavy, like you have the different weight classes. Of course, there's no weight classes in Punch Out, but like it's almost like you're fighting outside of your weight class or your league.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, why don't you try to fight Mike Tyson? Like you've been doing this amateur bouts this whole time, and now you're actually going to fight a professional. But it's a dream. It's like, it's like me. I'm asleep, and I'm having a dream about playing and beating Michael Jordan in like a one-on-one basketball game.
Right.
That's kind of what I got. I mean, it says dream bout, so I'm thinking he's dreaming it. It's not actually happening. So when you beat him, you didn't really beat him. It's just something that happened. I mean, unless he does get knocked out in the dream. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's also like, isn't that what kind of like sports gaming is, right?
yeah,
In a sense, it's the fulfillment of or trying to be that dream. So like when Jordan
yeah,
versus Bird comes out, or when the basketball games come out, or you're you're playing, or when Tecmo Super Bowl finally comes out, right?
yeah,
And you're playing like, oh, I can be the Bears and I could be the versus whoever. And, if I win, versus, or replaying those games that you watch, uh, with your parents or whatever, you replaying those games in Techno Super Bowl. Oh my gosh, I remember. I can't
yeah.
believe.
That's a good one. Techno
Yeah.
Super Bowl. I used to love that game.
But that's kind of like you said, it's the dream, right? And living out
Yeah,
the dream. And little Mac, like I said, what if you worked hard enough? Could you beat Mike Tyson, who's the biggest, baddest, meanest boxer at this time?
yes, yeah. At this time, exactly,
So
exactly. And that was the thing. Like not only do you get to fight Mike Tyson, but you also get to fight all these different boxers across the world.
yeah,
And like there's a lot of dopamine hits in the game. So like the star, like my favorite one was the star punch. Like getting
okay.
that punch and the little star comes up and you get to get an uppercut on the person. Or if you hit them, like you get them at the right angle,
Hmm.
you get that star. And that's like that was always a huge dopamine hit. Like, yes, I got a star. But then of course if you lose it, you get hit, you lose it.
Yeah.
That kind of hurts. But that's one thing that I liked was getting those little dopamine hits in the game. Getting one on Mike Tyson, of course, was even better. That was extremely hard. So, but tell me a little bit about like when you play like the gameplay, like how like maybe the little dopamine hits that you got from playing. Was it like the star punch or was it something
I
else?
was I was kind of I thought it was cool that you would get tired. Like it's kind of
Yeah,
like your life, like
yeah,
if you're really in a fight, you're gonna get tired. And you have to like do the sidestep to regain yourself.
yeah,
But like you said, it's kind of this rocky thing, right? And there's always this moment in any boxing or fighting movie where the person is getting tired. You can tell they're getting tired.
yeah,
What's the drive? What's the thing deep down? And it's always about asking what's deep down inside that's going to keep you going. And you're looking at yourself, you're looking at your opponent's life health, life bar, and you're like, I only got a few more and then it'll be over.
yeah,
Hopefully.
yeah.
Right. Like,
Hopefully, yeah,
hopefully, a few more hits and I can get there. Right.
yeah,
So
yeah,
with Glass Joe, you got it. You can do that pretty quickly. But as you progress, you start to realize like, I don't I I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Or this person, the way they hit, I don't have like my life um isn't gonna last a barrage. So what do I gotta do? Again, the strategy comes out.
yeah,
What do I gotta do to get past what they're gonna throw at me? And I think it's a question even in life is like, with Rocky, like, with life you're gonna get hit, right?
yep,
But the the object is to how much can you get hit and get back up, you know?
Yeah, and actually, that's a quote from Rocky Six.
Yeah,
That's when
so
he's talking to his son. But yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
And like, no, but I'm just saying, like, that's what this is like you have to learn the strategy of these different fighters. And even like you're gonna have to the strategy that you're gonna have to put in place for the different things that you encounter. How are you gonna keep moving forward?
Right,
Right.
right.
And maybe the dream is whatever, some job or something that you want to do, some woman or man you want to marry, but you're there's a strategy to get to where you want to go, right?
Right.
And you're gonna have to figure that out, and that's part of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, you mentioned that. That's a very good analogy for this game because because even when you're knocked out, the music is playing and it's almost like, oh my gosh, I got to get up. If I don't
Yeah.
get up, then this is not
Yeah.
like this is going to be bad. And it's the same with life. Like, oh my gosh, if I do not get up, my life
Get
is
up. You have to,
ruined.
you know,
Yeah, yeah, and
and
that's the thing. You got to get up, and
and even sometimes you're gonna have to start over,
yeah, you are.
but
Yeah,
it's you can start over.
yes,
You can start where you left off, you know.
yeah, exactly.
Um, so, but again, just to keep moving forward. Are you going to keep moving forward? One of the things like the also is like the when you're I guess when you quote unquote lose twice,
Yeah,
you have the retirement. Do you want to retire or do you want to quit? You have to make a decision, right?
yes, yes,
And that's again like how's little Matt gonna fulfill his dream? He can't retire. He can't quit. He has to just keep going,
yeah,
and what you're losing in the process, you're getting beat up, but you can still get up, keep moving forward. And it's hard. And oh, I remember the show Ali G years ago. There's this comedian, he would dress as this person named Ali G. That wasn't his name. I forget his real
Oh, is
name
that
actually.
Borat? The Borat
Yeah,
guy?
I think
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I think it's the same guy.
yeah,
But he would dress as a character Ali G. And he said, if video games taught me nothing, it's that when you're going forward and you're meeting more opposition, that means you're going in the right direction.
yeah. That is true. Yeah,
And that's what you learn in video games. It's like, yeah, the further you intend to go, the harder it's gonna get. That it you're probably going in the right direction.
and that is so amazing you say that because, like, when I played the game, it's very similar to life. Like,
Mhm.
you get to, you might be cruising through life and everything's going okay, but then you hit like a big obstacle and you can't get past it. Like with Super Macho Man, like I
Yeah,
kept fighting him. I kept trying different things. And I was just like, you know what? I can't beat this game. And then you get to the point, and that's the same with like life sometimes. Sometimes you get to that that really hard part of life where
mhm,
it's constantly knocking you down and you're trying to get up and it knocks you down again. You keep doing it, knocks you down. Like, but like you just said, like video games kind of teach you to keep going, especially back when we were kids. Like when
yeah.
we were kids, those games did not play. They were like, look, you screwed up.
There's
You
no
can play
save.
again. There's no save. Yeah, you're like you starting all the way from the beginning. That's it. You start all the way from the beginning. Because like the games today, like you could you can kind of like if you get to a checkpoint, if I get to that checkpoint, then I can start right at that checkpoint. Or, you can save the game too, but
Yeah,
you have the checkpoints now. So if you hit the checkpoint, it will auto save for you. You can start from there and you'll be fine. But back then, especially like you mentioned Mega Man, like if you died in Mega Man, it was done. Unless you had the password. Like you had the
yeah.
password, you're fine. But you had to remember the password. So yeah, it was and I think like our generation, I was watching something where the guys were talking about like how our generation is compared to the newer generations
Mhm.
when it comes to video games and how we approach life. So like our generation was more like it was brutal. So it was like you failed, you need to start all over again. So that made you like want to start over again and want to do, you didn't mind starting over again, right?
Yeah,
You worked harder the next go round.
yeah,
Whereas today it's like hand holding you. But that teaches you like, look, you messed up, but it's punishment's not gonna be that bad. You'll be okay, right? So it's a lot more hand holding. And I think life's not really like that a lot of times. Life can be brutal.
yeah.
Um, so
I don't know if
the
there's a lot
difference thing.
more holding. I think
Yeah.
that
I mean, games are
there's
still hard today. Don't get me
yeah.
wrong. Yeah.
I think um I think with gaming specifically is you see you see I'll put it this way. When you hear older people talk about the past,
Yeah.
they talk about how terrible it was, right? And when you when you see somebody doing better that was in your position, it can make you kind of be like, well, I had all these other things, rather than clap that they don't have to go through what you went through, right?
Right. Right.
Um and I think that's the disconnect is rather than looking at I'm and I'm talking beyond gaming now. Like
Yeah.
rather than looking at this newer generation, this younger generation, um being in a better position is a good thing for them, and it reflects that we are actually getting better as a society. uh the old person in me, or the old person, would look at it and say, well, I didn't get that, and so I want you to go through the same things that I went through,
Yeah.
because you think that it it built something in you, and maybe it did, I don't know, but not in well, I'll say this, not in every case, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like with spoiled children, right? You you'd want them to be able to experience life in a certain way so they wouldn't be spoiled, to know that what they have, to value what they're getting, right?
Right.
um but I think there are areas where that doesn't apply, where it should be easy because that's just part of the human experience, but there are things that will come in life that I think regardless of what happens, people are gonna hit a wall. Even if they have everything, they're gonna hit a wall, whether it be with the people in their lives or whether it be material. And they gotta make a decision. What that decision is based on whatever's going on. But it doesn't negate your experience, the older generation's experience. I'll put it like that. And if you want to say that you're better for your experience, yeah, okay, that's good. But I don't think that means that we have to impose that everybody's got to be this, they have to go through the same thing. Um, there are things that my parents went through that I'm glad I didn't have to go
Yeah.
through,
That's true. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, it I am, and the world is different also, right? And like, again, we're talking about generalities outside of video games. The world is different from where it was in the past. The world is different from what it was 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So the progression looks different. What people go through looks different. And that's
Yeah.
okay, you know?
Yeah.
And what's hard, I remember thinking, like, what's hard for some people isn't hard for others, and everybody has different ways they struggle. And it's the same between you and me, right? There are things that I struggle with that you wouldn't have an issue with,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and vice versa. And
Yeah.
so looking at that, the universal experience is In those things, you have to move forward. In those things, you have to strive, right?
And you're correct. Like, the struggles, everybody has, it doesn't matter what generation you are, you have struggles to, like you just said, everybody
Yeah.
has different type of struggles, but we're all struggling, right?
Yeah.
So, and the whole nostalgia thing, I do agree with you on that. Like,
Mhm.
it's so easy. I think a lot of, I agree and disagree because I think a lot of older people, they, I don't, like, some of them look at the past and they romanticize the past.
Oh yeah,
You know what I
much,
mean?
much, very much so.
Yeah, like you'll have people like, I miss Blockbuster Video, and I'm like, why? I don't miss Blockbuster Video. I like getting my stuff instantly. Um, or like they'll romanticize stuff that we used to complain about back
Yeah,
then, right? Um, and they'll like, um, they'll put down the new stuff that we had that we always wanted.
yeah,
Right, like AI. AI is a great tool. Now we're getting an AI, but I won't get too much into that.
yeah,
But like even the games, like when we were younger, we talked about this a lot on the show, where the games didn't look great, and
yeah,
we had our imaginations, and we are like, man, I can't wait till the games to look great and amazing. And now we're like older. And I'm not saying us two, but just older people in general, and they're just like, well, the games are a lot easier now, right? And I don't, and I think the games should be as like they were back then. And no, the games look better. They're still hard, right? But
yeah,
it's just a different type of struggle, like you said.
yeah. And and that's like like I said, everybody's life. There's gonna be those struggles,
Yeah,
and it's how are you gonna push forward? How are you gonna strategize?
yeah,
How are you even gonna look at those things? Are you strategizing? Are you looking for different avenues? Because hey, maybe and I'll just say it this way, right? Maybe you're not supposed to play Punch Out. Maybe Punch Out isn't your game. Maybe Mega Man is your game.
yeah,
That is like, like I said, and also depending on, like I said, the snacks you got that day, the Capri Suns or the, Gatorade, how the weather is, you could do a speed run.
yeah,
And, and like you talked about how like you beat the game and you have like the one sliver of life left.
yeah.
Like how many games that was the case for me? Like
Oh yeah,
just beating it on the I just happened to hit the button a split second before the other guy could do their thing. Like that's also life, right? Is you're
yes,
gonna you're gonna you're gonna move forward. You're gonna like a lot of stuff that happens to you. We don't like to discuss it, but a lot of times it's you just happen to be in the right place at the right time. You just happen to talk to the right person at the right time. You just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
yeah.
You know?
That's true. That is
Because that
true.
you know it goes both ways. You know, and the strategy, the lesson is still the same. You still have to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's the thing with this game. Like you're moving forward, you know, through these different challenges, and they get harder as you go along.
Mhm.
And that kind of also brings me to the characters, because we haven't. I mean, we kind of mentioned them briefly, but like the characters in this game are very very memorable. And I'll go through them real quick. So you have Glass Joe, you have Glass Joe from France, you have Von Kaiser from Germany, you have Piston Honda from Japan, and then you have Don Flamingo from Spain, and then you have King Hippo from Question Mark, um, Great Tiger from India, and Bob Bull, he's from Turkey, Soda Popinski, I think he's from Poland, and
Mhm.
Mr. Sandman, we go back to America. Mr. Sandman is an American from Philly. Uh, and then Macho Man, who's from California. And then, of course, we have Mike Tyson at the end.
Yeah.
So, like, all these characters are very. endearing, and they all have different challenges, or I guess you can say they're obstacles, right? Like kind of like
Yeah.
we're talking about with life, like there are different obstacles that you have to fight, but the obstacles are you require different strategies, just like in life. You have different strategies you have to do to beat
Yeah.
each of these obstacles.
And the other thing too is, and this is what I really liked about, like, what I really like about the video game community, right?
Yeah.
We share. Once you get someplace, like you get farther, a lot of people will say, like, well, how did you do that? And it's just like, here's how you do it.
Yeah.
There's not gatekeeping, or not a lot of gatekeeping in the community with video games. And that's another thing with life, right? Is like, be willing to share your experience and how you got past whatever, because
Yeah.
it's something that you learned from, and you want someone else who might be going through the same thing to get from under it too.
Right.
And that's the one another thing that I took away, just being a video game player, is there's a lot of sharing going on how to defeat this or how to get past that.
Even more so now with the internet.
Yeah,
You can just
and
look it up.
where to find this,
Yeah.
so I really appreciate that about the video game community. It's not like, oh, you got to do it on your own, or you got to figure out. It's like, this is how I did it, or watch me play it, or look, this is where you find this particular object or whatever that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Or like I told you, Legacy of the Wizard, I could get so far in that game, but I never could finish it. And I remember this one guy in church where I used to live in Virginia. We were just talking about it, and he like gave me the codes, and like he was like, "Here's where you go to like invoke the dragons." And I was like, "Okay." Boom! I was able to beat the game. Right? I was
Yeah.
like, because for the most part, I was like, I'm just wandering around trying to figure out, like, he's like, "These are where the four crowns are. This is how you invoke the dragon." So that's just historically, you when you go through something, you want to help another person out who's going through the same thing. And that's a video game community thing. It's other communities too, but that's one of the things we take away. Like, yeah, we struggle, we fall down, we get up, but once we get past something, it's like, all right, this is how you get past it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like you have that we have that support, right? You have that
Yeah.
support that you get. Like that kind of brings me to Doc Lewis. Doc
Yeah.
Lewis is your support person, right? He's your guy that's going to be in your corner, right?
Hmm.
But I guess he's not like gatekeeping or anything. He's just not good at his job. Um, but there is little things where and then this is another thing you can get from other gamers is that you hit I think it's the select button or B button or whatever multiple times, and then he's like rubbing your shoulders uh,
Yeah.
faster, and then that makes you get your health down when
Yeah.
you go into later things. So uh, I didn't know that. You said, speaking of support, like I didn't know you could do that until a friend of mine said, "Yeah, if you just hit this button multiple times, you can get your thing back." I didn't believe him because I was like, "No way." Uh, but he told me, showed me it. He showed me that you could do it, and I did it, and I was like, "Wow, that's amazing." So like, yeah, you're right. Like there's a lot of help you're getting from the gaming industry, from the gaming culture. I shouldn't say industry, from the gaming
Yeah.
culture. And that's always been the case, like even
Yeah.
before the internet.
Yep. Where, like I said, when I was a kid and we would go to lunch, like in school, everybody's got their gaming magazines, and we're passing them around. We're
Yeah,
taking
I remember
notes,
that.
we're taking
Yeah,
notes for whatever game that we're playing or plan to play over the weekend, or if this one has it, whatever move list, we're writing it down and putting it in our notepads, like, you know, it's it's a beautiful thing. It's a very beautiful thing with the gaming community, you know. For all the thing, a lot of controversy that goes on, there's still a lot of beauty in this culture that we have as a video gaming community.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's some good things. There's toxic things, but that's any community. There's
Yeah,
always going to be like toxic things in any community. Uh, but yeah, that I do agree with you on that. Like the sharing that you get
yeah,
from other people, whether you call it, I want to gloat, or I wouldn't say gloating. I would say more like, look, I did it, and I want other people to do it as well.
yeah.
Uh, and you see that even in like YouTube or anything, right?
Like I
I
said,
just go there for everything.
I watched a video. It was like I was playing Doom. I forget which Doom it was, but I got stuck in an area, and like a guy had a video, specifically a walkthrough video of
Yeah,
that area,
yeah,
and hey, that's how I got out.
yeah,
Um, like even modern gaming, like I play Helldivers 2, right? And that's one of the like people who are more experienced will jump into your dive and help you complete an area. And I appreciate that. Like even today, I played it twice today. There are people who jumped in. Like I'm what I'm doing, I'm building up, myself. So you play it on easy, and as you get better, I increase the difficulty, right?
right.
And so now I'm in a, I guess I'm middle in the middle, so whatever number 5 is difficulty. But doing it by yourself can be hard, but I've gotten to the point where I can do a lot of stuff by myself, but there are people who will jump in and help you clear out. If like, there are objectives that you have to complete, but sometimes it's better to like to clear the board, and people coming in to help you clear the board. Or even when, I remember one of the a few months ago, we were all like general orders to attack Cyberstan, right? So everybody's doing hell dive, super dive into these areas where we're getting decimated, but the characters that were good at it, that knew what they were, like how to do it, they were helping you along in those areas, how to fix, because we're all trying to liberate Cyberstan, and we're all in this together. So, and there's stuff like that across different games in the gaming community, where it's just like, we're gonna help, we're gonna do this together, and so I know we've gotten off of Mike Tyson.
No worries.
It's just the game itself is, it's a strategic game, and it's all about moving forward. And like you said, with the dream bout in the end, could you get to Mike Tyson if you did everything that you needed to do? Could you get to whatever goal that you have if you were strategic about how you wanted to get there? And it's just kind of interesting that you could like video games as a medium have a very has a storytelling platform like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's pretty amazing. Well, I mean, another thing I wanted to add too is like Little Mac. He
Mhm.
was only 17 years old, so he's a 17-year-old kid knocking out these like experienced boxers.
Yeah.
Um, and he's what's kind of funny is it's heavyweight, so he's a heavyweight contender. But of course, somebody his size wouldn't be a
He's definitely
heavyweight.
not a heavyweight.
Yeah, he's not a heavyweight, but nobody cares if you're not really a boxing fan, or I think even boxing fans kind of excused it. They're like, okay, that's fine. It's just a video game. It's not a big deal. Um, but yeah, I mean, he was 17 years old. He's climbing. He's going through like these. He's going through like the minor, major, and world leagues, um, or circuits. I guess they call it. They call it circuits in boxing. So he was going through the circuits, and he's just this little 17-year-old kid, and he's just dominating, and then he wins. I always say, look, everything was real up to Mike Tyson.
Yeah,
The whole thing was real. Like, when he got the Macho Man, um, it was real. And then he won. And then while he was sleeping, after he got his trophy, he had a dream bout with Mike Tyson. It was in his mind.
I think that's an interesting take on the game. But I actually
Yeah,
would agree with you. I appreciate that kind of view. That Mike Tyson was the dream, you know.
yeah, yeah. It's almost like it's almost like it's like a fourth wall thing, right? Because Mike
Mhm.
Tyson is a real boxer. Everybody else in this game was in that universe.
Yeah,
So he kind of broke the fourth wall, and he's like, "I'm going to fight Mike Tyson, somebody from our world." And of course, he's extremely hard. So,
yeah,
um, so yeah, that's kind of what I got from it as well, because it says dream bout.
yeah,
It could be just figuratively, right? You can argue that it was a figurative dream bout, and he wasn't dreaming, and he actually was fighting Mike Tyson. But I took it as that. That's what I took it as.
yeah.
Um,
I think I'm
but
gonna agree with you like that. That it was a dream, and Mike Tyson was the ultimate battle that he wanted because
right,
proved to himself one that he could get there. You know.
right. Yeah, it's kind of like, like I said with like Michael Jordan, like, you won the championship and now you're going against the greatest of the greatest now.
Yeah.
Um and you're just going into that. You're going into that, and again, it's in your mind. But of course, they change it. So now you're going against in the new. Now I never played the Mr. Dream one. I never played that one. I played. I mean, I think it's the same game. It's just Mr.
It's
Dream
the
at the
same
end.
game.
It's the
Yeah.
same game, but I never fought Mr. Dream. Um, I never had the Mr. Dream one. So, but Mr. Dream, I would say, is still in that same universe. I would say, even though his name's Mr. Dream. Um,
I think I think again going back
yeah,
to reclaiming your name,
yeah,
you know, Mike Tyson has become Mr. Dream. If you look at his
yes,
life, he's in a lot better place than where he was. He's actually in a place where he wants to be,
yeah.
and that not the dream of everyone?
Well, that's really deep. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's deep into it. That's a good way of looking at it.
So
Yeah. And that was the thing. So it was the Mr. Dream one, and then we had the one I'm not gonna talk a lot about it, but there was the Super Nintendo one that came out. That wasn't Little Mac. That was I think it was the same guy from the
it was,
arcade.
I think it was the arcade version finally because they were like, oh, we can finally do the arcade version. So
Yeah, yeah, I think that's what it
it's
was. I
still a
think
wireframe. You still got the
yeah,
interesting different character. It's just and like you have the arcade graphics because now we're 16-bit. So
yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of what it went to. That wasn't as popular as the one from Nintendo, even though it had better graphics. It was popular, but it wasn't as popular. I did beat that one. That was a hard a hard one to beat, but that one wasn't as hard as the Nintendo version. So,
I think what with Super NES, they had to just basically do everything. It was just, I guess this was their MO, was like every popular game had to become a super version of itself.
yeah, yeah,
So that was the Super NES. So
yeah. That's exactly right. That was the trajectory. They're trying to make it um, just a 16-bit version of Punch Out.
yeah.
And again, it was a good game. I wouldn't say it's as good as NES, but it was a game that is still hard, still a challenge, but it just didn't have the same it didn't have the same memorable characters as
I got a question.
yeah.
Do you think if they'd have put Mike Tyson's name on it, it would have done better?
Oh, that's a
Or
good question. Yeah.
if they'd have put like, I don't know, um, I think probably around that time it was like Riddick Bowe or
Yeah, Buster Douglas too.
yeah, Buster to some other, but I think they had their own games too.
Yeah, they had
So
their own games.
remember they started doing boxing games for a bunch of different people. But if they had put Mike Tyson's name back on it, would you think it would have been? It would have been popular for the Super NES version.
Um, that's a good question. I think I think the reason Punch Out was so. I mean, yeah, Mike Tyson was the reason, but I think if the it depends on how well the Nintendo one went was good.
Right.
Because if the Nintendo one, because I mean, yeah, you got the game because you like Mike Tyson, but if the game was horrible, because you mentioned other boxing games, like there's other boxing games from other great boxers, and they're bad, like they're
Yeah,
really
they're terrible.
bad. Yeah, they're
Like
terrible.
I don't know what they were. You know what they were trying to make it. It almost felt like they were trying to make it more real in a sense. I don't know.
Yeah, real boxing's boring. I mean, it's
Yeah,
not boring, but like you watch a boxing
it was like
match.
doing. It wasn't. It, well, actually, that makes sense. It wasn't arcade. It's kind of like
Yes, yes,
I I prefer like I don't I don't know anything about sports games, right?
yeah,
But the arcade version of the sports game, so like Blitz, NBA Jam, like I love those games because they're kind of like fast food of sports games,
yeah,
and that's what Punch Out was. It was the arcade version of boxing, you know.
and I
And
think.
when
Go ahead.
they started making these real boxing games where we're looking at points and
Yeah,
punches and you know uh actual how the effects of being punched, you lost something, you lost the fun, I'll put it that way.
yeah, and
At
that's
least
the thing. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, finish your thought.
I was going to say at least to me, because for some people that's fun, right?
Yeah, and that's true. Like there's two types of fans, right? Um, like there's the simulation fan, like there's the ones that like the real life stuff,
Yeah,
and then there's people that just like the arcade stuff. They just like the arcade, and that's usually a bigger fan base because it attracts more people. Whereas the simulations have like their own select fans. These are
yeah,
the ones. These are like basketball or flight simulators, right?
yeah,
Like people love flight simulators. They like the realism with it or the simulation behind it. Um, and then like same with sports. Like there's football. Like some people just want to play arcade football. Like they don't want to go into doing
yeah.
plays and
Like,
figuring out plays and then coaching and trades and all that stuff. They don't
which is
want to
crazy because like we were talking about, we brought up Techno Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Techno, like I like those as a game, but when you like put me on like NFL 2K or Madden,
Yeah.
I'm like I'm lost. I'm like I don't know anything about this game.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's the thing. Like those simulated games, and I think that's why a lot of the boxing games, because sometimes you can be some a mistake that games make sometimes is they try to be too realistic,
yeah,
and a lot of times like It's so it brings me into like example of, and this is not a video game, of course, but this is like CSI. Like when
hmm,
CSI came out, everybody's like, "I want to do that. I want to be a forensic scientist. I want to do that. That's amazing, right?" Because they'll solve the crime within an hour,
yeah,
and they had to use all these cool tools, and then they had all these people that went into college, wanting to be forensic scientists, and then they realized, "Oh, wait a minute, this is work. This is hard. This is not as exciting as it looks on TV." So so sometimes it does that with video games. Sometimes like there it does attract some people, but not everybody.
yeah,
So like the Blitz games, the NBA Jam, like NBA Jam was probably the most most popular basketball game, probably even over NBA 2K, because NBA 2K has taken over the reins of
yeah.
basketball games. It used to be EA, used to be like NBA Live. Now
Oh
it's
yeah, NBA Live was. Oh, I
2K.
almost forgot about that. But yeah, it's NBA 2K.
Yeah, 2K is dominated it. They
Yeah,
take over. And Madden, of course, is always going to be at the top.
yeah.
So,
And like I
yeah,
said, playing those, I'm like,
yeah,
like
yeah,
like like, all right, like, okay, like, but I have no idea, like, what to do, or like, cause I, I don't know. I don't, those don't work for me. The arcade version of the game works. And that's, like we were saying, like, there are people who like that, the actual technical
Yes.
function, and there are certain things like that I like that. It's not video games, so
Yeah.
well, I mean some video games. But as far as sports games, no, you gotta give me the fast food because really, because I'm gonna be like, I don't know what to do here, but yeah, I think because Madden, or not Madden, I'm sorry, Mike Tyson's Punch Out was an arcade version of boxing. I think that's what made it popular.
Yeah, because I mean they came out with another boxing game. I'm trying to think of the name, but it was very similar to Punch Out. Um, it wasn't like you're like an underdog or something, but it was I'm just thinking. I think it's called Ready to Rumble. That was the name of the game.
Oh yeah, that was
Remember
another.
that one? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
remember
that was another one that was pretty popular too, and it was an arcade based game, but you can pick your boxer. That was the difference.
that.
Like
Right.
you
And
weren't like one
and
person.
yeah, and the characters were, it was an arcade game basically.
Yeah,
Had special moves, so it wasn't. It was, I think at one point there's like a Michael Jackson character, and I think Ready to Rumble 2 is like a
yes,
Michael Jackson's in that.
I
You
think
know,
so. Yeah,
um, but yeah, I think uh, I think Mike Tyson became Mr. Dream. You know,
yeah,
um, and I think that's really, isn't that what, that's something that we all want. We all want to get to where we want to go, and learning the life strategy, being able to get up when you get knocked down, that's important. You know,
yeah,
um, the characters you meet along the way are also going to shape you, how your strategy too, right? The people that you meet in your life, and also making sure that you have the right people in your life to give you tips and not, tell you just like, knock this guy out. You want people to actually
yeah,
tell you how to get past stuff, right?
yeah. You don't want to Doc Lewis just
Exactly.
saying you can do it, and that's it.
That helps sometimes in some areas.
I
That helps.
guess, I guess,
But
yeah,
for the most part, you'd also want people, and like I said, we talked about the video game community briefly. Like the people that help you along the way are going to tell you how they got past. You know,
yeah, yeah,
the same thing you're going, like your thing is not, you're not alone in your struggle. You're not alone in trying to figure out what the next move is. So
and that's the that.
having,
Go ahead.
yeah, having those people around you that'll guide you and tell you, like, and be honest with you is important.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, life is one big training ground. So you learn even from people that are not so great, right?
Hmm.
You learn from everybody. Like even people that are not teaching you, you're still learning from them. And that's kind of like with this game, like you're fighting these you're fighting these characters, but you're learning something from each one of them that you can take into the next round.
Yeah.
So like same with life, like you're going, you get you get to elementary school, you deal with the kids there, you deal. 'Cause that's the thing about school, like it teaches you how to deal with like not just difficult situations, but difficult people.
Yeah.
So you can learn some things as you're dealing with these difficult people, and that's kind of like what Punch Out's doing. You can They're kind of are difficult people. They're very like cocky. They're very prideful. They probably look at you and they're like, "Really, this little guy? Come on," because they kind of mock you. They mock you in the game, and they you're learning as you go. So as you beat them, yeah, they mocked you, they were difficult, but you learned something, made you a better fighter, and it's the same with like life as well.
Hmm.
So, but that is Mike Tyson's Punch Out. And what would you give this game? Now, I know what I'm going to give it, but what are you going to give this game?
I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Like, even like for Nintendo, like the port over from arcade, it was still fun.
Yeah.
It was still fun on the home system. It was a lot of fun, like watching people try to, get to where they wanted to get to the end.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't think I know anybody who's actually outside of you who's beaten the game. Um, but I do know, like, we all use codes to get to the
Yeah.
to Mike Tyson, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it was a good port. I think it was surprisingly a fun game for Nintendo,
Yeah.
especially at a time when they're still getting their feet under them uh, as a home console. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. It's a really good game. This game was like huge for me back then. So that's why it's one of my top 10. Um I gave it a 9.5 out of 10 because it's one of my favorites. One I always go back to if I need to play a video game. And it's just I never forget, like I talked about earlier, like I never forget that time where my hands were like sweating. Um and I was like, I gotta I can do this. And I just
isn't that like the best feeling though?
yeah, it is.
Like remembering back to those times where those games where you're just like, I did it by the skin of my teeth,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that was the thing. Like you're at the skin of your teeth. Nothing else mattered, right? Like all your
Yeah.
worries and concerns. And that's the beautiful thing about video games in general is when you're playing these games, like, especially now, we're older now, we have jobs, we work,
Mhm.
we have stresses and stuff like that. Adulting, they call it. Um, you got all this stuff you gotta deal with. But when you play a game and when you really get into the game and you want to beat that board, like nothing else matters.
Yeah.
You just want to beat it. And I like that because it kind of gets you out of those stressors. It also
Yeah.
gets you, so it's really awesome. And this game is one of those that are like that for me.
Yep. Yep.
So but I appreciate it. Thank you again for helping me cover this game. This is a really good game. I was really excited about this episode. Um, but for everybody that's listening, thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe, or please provide some comments, or what was your favorite thing about this game? We definitely would like to know that.
Yeah.
We're going to continue doing this show. We really love doing this, and we appreciate you as well as the listener. Do you have anything you want to add, Mars?
No, I think if you haven't played it, I'm sure you can find it to play it. Just remember again, life requires strategy. Don't be afraid to fall down and get back up. So thanks for listening.
Mike Tyson's Punch Out is an absolute triumph of a game design. It took technical limitations and turned them into brilliant gameplay mechanics, giving us unforgettable characters, tight controls, and one of the most rewarding challenge curves on the NES. It's fast, incredibly satisfying, and remains timeless to this day. I gave Mike Tyson's Punch Out a legendary 9.5 out of 10. Thank you again for joining us on Cartridge Chronicles. Keep your cartridges ready, keep your controllers ready, and your adventures endless. We'll catch you in the next episode. Until then, don't stop gaming.